Hey, welcome back to our study in Luke 2:7. We're talking about Christmas and the birth of Christ and the fact that when he was born, there was no room for him in the inn. And we've been talking about several different ideas about, was there possible other reasons and just a lot of people there that Christ chose to come into the world at that point. And there probably is some of that was a little speculation, but I mean, I gave you some scripture to kind of show that, all that. The fact that he was in a manger shows that he's lowly and humble and that everyone is welcome because it's a feeding trough. It's not like a golden throne that would prohibit others to come. And there was lots of other places that didn't have room for him either. The palaces, the marketplace didn't welcome him. When he got older, the educated didn't want him. And he was hunted down by the religious leaders. And then we talked about how the inn had no room. What does that exactly means? Well, it probably means that, wherever the normal place for the people, that kind of picture of like the stable out there away from everybody else, and there's nowhere to go, and the animals are out there all by themselves, and maybe the shepherds are in the picture. That's not probably true. There's probably other women that were there to help. I mean, the city's packed. Why would they be all by themselves? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's Jewish culture with women. If you know anything about Jewish women, they're going to take care of their own, right? They're not going to just let them stay out there and suffer. They're not going to have a Jewish, and they're going to their families there, right? I mean, that's the idea that the families were gathering together to be counted in the census. So David's household, all his descendants were there, and so all these people are related, or at least back to David. I mean, there's they're cousins of cousins of cousins, some. But, some of his family was probably there to be counted by the census. Some Joseph's family and Mary's family, because Mary is from the line of David as well. So both sides of their family were there. And then, so no one was there when she was giving birth? Probably highly unlikely. And then we get back to this question for us then is, since all these people didn't have room, there's only a few people that actually welcomed him throughout his life. The question is, do we have room? Do we have room for Christ? Do we have room in our lives for him? And so the first question, then also the second question to us, then, not only do you have room, but do you feel unworthy? Do you feel unworthy to have Jesus come in? Do you feel like that you're not worthy enough to invite the Savior to lay his head at your house? Are you, well, you're in luck because, the manger was unworthy to hold baby Jesus. The world was unworthy to welcome him. But he came to the unworthy. That's who he came to. The manger was an unworthy place to lay the master of all creation, the one who created all things, to lay him in a manger. He wasn't worthy of that. He was far more worthy than anything that's on this planet. But that's where he had to be laid, because that's all that was available. Another question, do you feel too vile? Do you feel too dirty to welcome Jesus? You don't have enough room? You don't have room for him because you're just you're too sin-ridden. You're just too dirty. Well, Jesus was laid where beasts ate, right? This is where animals came in to eat. And they're not usually that good about, being careful not to, mess up the floor in various different ways, if you know what I mean. This is a place that's dirty. This is a place that is mean, of mean estate. So do you feel too vile or too dirty? Well, Jesus was willing to be laid in a place where beasts ate. You don't think he has room for you then? You're more worthy than sparrows. Right? That's what he said. You have more worth than the sparrows. Of course he's going to take care of you. Of course he would come to you. So even if you feel that way, maybe you are vile. Maybe you are dirty. But you're not too vile. You're not too dirty for Jesus to come to. Are you afraid that you're not ready to receive him? See, Bethlehem wasn't ready. Bethlehem was not prepared. They were like, oh, the Messiah is coming today. We should get ready. Da, da, da. roll out the red carpet. We'll welcome our Messiah. We'll get everybody ready. We're going to come down. We're going to meet him as soon as he's born. No, they weren't ready for him, and yet Jesus came anyway. So are you ready to meet Jesus? Doesn't matter, They weren't ready, and he came anyway. So prepare yourself. Jesus is coming anyway. Jesus will come to your life, whether you're ready or not. The question is, will you welcome him? You may not be prepared today to meet him, but he's coming. He's knocking. Are you going to open the door and sup with him, or is he going to come back in judgment? That's the question. Charles Spurgeon said, your emptiness, your nothingness, your want of feeling, your want of goodness, your want of grace, all these will be but room for him. Have you room for him? That's the question. Do you have room for him in your heart today? And finally, if there is room in your heart, and if you've welcomed him, like the shepherds did, like Joseph and Mary did, like many people did at that time, like the disciples, like Peter, welcomed him. I have room for you, Jesus, in my life. I want you to be in my life. If you do that, if you say, yep, Jesus, I want you to be in my life. I want you to be my king. You are my king. Then are you ready for what comes after that? Because the world has no room for Christ, has no room for you then, if you are a follower of Christ. John 15:19 says, if you were of the world will love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. That was true of the apostles. That's true of all of Christ's followers. He chose you out of the world. You are not of the world anymore. Because of that, the world hates you. So is there room? Because if you invite him in, there is a cost. And that'll be the hatred of the world. If you truly invite him in. If you don't, the world loves you. But if Christ has chosen you, he said, come down from that tree. I'm coming to your house today. Okay, Jesus, come on in. See, Zacchaeus had room in his house for Jesus. Do you? That's the question. If you do, then you will be hated by the world. That is guaranteed. We can't play nice with the world. The world's ideas, the world's thoughts, the world's practices. You can't play nice with those. Either you hate God and love the world, or you love the world and hate God. I just said the same thing. If you either love God and hate the world, or you hate the world, and I just said it again. Either you, what's wrong with me? Either you love God, hate the world, or you'll love the world. There you go. And hate God. I was like, wait a minute, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. What's wrong with me? Ooh, it's Christmas, man. Brains are falling out. But anyway, that's the idea, though. If you love the world, you don't love God. And the wrath of God remains on you. But if you hate the world and love God, then you have room for Jesus. And that's what happens. There's not like you can be friends with the world and be friends with God. You get both. You get the best of both worlds. Nope, can't do it. So, one more verse before we close our lesson for this week. 1 Peter 2, verse 11, it says, Beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles. Sojourners and exiles. That's the idea. That's who we are, right? If you make room for Christ, if he has room in your life, then you will be a sojourner and exile in this world. As long as this world is in control of society, as long as the world is in control of what's happening in the culture, what's happening in the government, what's happening in our homes, then we will be sojourners and exiles. One day that won't be true. One day it won't be the truth anymore. That the world won't be in control anymore. But right now we can overcome the world, it says, by our faith. Our faith. That's how we welcome him in. That's how we welcome Jesus in by faith. And when he does, he takes up residence with us. He lives with us. He dwells amongst us. It says, we are his people. He dwells with us, never to leave us nor forsake us. He's not going anywhere. He's here right now with us. And he will always be with us. One day he will be with us in the flesh again. But he's still here. He hasn't gone anywhere. And so we need to remember that we are just sojourners and exiles. We have a job to do. But we need to keep our conduct honorable. But that's what we do. So may the Lord help us to welcome Christ in and to remain faithful to him all our days. All right, well, that's the end of our study this week. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you had a great Christmas, because this is Christmas week. We're in Christmas tide, as the old church phrase would go. And so next time we'll kind of do a year-end kind of thing. Well, I want to look at the world. Since we ended with the world here, I want to talk more about the world again next time and just kind of wrap everything up. It kind of fits in with what we've been talking about throughout the whole year. And so just want to bring it back around to looking at the world. And so next time we'll look at a study called Go Out and Be Separate, which is talking about the world. So I hope you'll join me with that next time.